All right, for this portion, I'm going to make some bread. Now, I'm making a lot of bread, so I have approximately 6 cups of water in there, and I'm going to add a tablespoon of sugar into it, and I'm going to add a nice heaping tablespoon of yeast. I buy yeast in bulk. I'm going to add a little bit more, because I want it to be nice and fluffy looking. I want to just try to give that a stir. I buy yeast in bulk, and I keep it in my refrigerator. Now at this point, all the books are going to say, "Oh, you need to proof your yeast," but I've never proofed it. I go through it pretty quickly. So at this point, I'm going to just add a couple cups of flour. I want to take a nice, good, heavy-duty wooden spoon. I'm going to stir that in and get all that flour mixed in. It's going to be a little lumpy. It's going to be fine. I'm going to add a little bit more flour. What I'm wanting to do is just kind of get a consistency of like a baking powder, or not baking powder, but pancake mix or something. So I'm going to just keep adding until it thickens up a little bit. All right, now it's starting to thicken up a little bit. Now at this point, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of salt. A nice big tablespoon of salt. And half a cup of oil. I want to get that mixed in really good. Now I'm going to add a little bit of garlic powder. And just a little bit of Italian seasoning. This is going to be for our sub bread, so I want to have a little bit of seasoning to it. I'm going to mix it in. And at this point, I'm just going to start adding flour until I can't stir it anymore. But I'm going to do it about a cup at a time. And as I go along, I'm going to make sure I'm scraping the edges of the bowl. Now, I will tell you this, if you are trying to do this at home, I would cut this in half at least, because it's going to make a lot of bread. But I have a pretty decent sized family, so we're going to make a lot of bread for them. Now, eventually, I want to get around to making a video about just bread, the reason why I make it the way I do. And when I do, I'll leave a description at the top up here and link into it. Now, with this video, I'm really not trying to really go into a lot of details about bread. Bread is going to be a video I want to do individually I think everybody needs to know how to make some bread. It's really not complicated. I feel like a lot of people make it complicated, and it really is. They want you to weigh stuff out. I don't really measure that well. I mean, I just kind of throw some water in a cup and call it a couple cups, and I just start working with it. As you can see, it is starting to get nice and thick, and it's getting harder, and it's starting to pull from the sides. You can see it like right here. It's starting to try to pull off to the sides. And we'll mix it. We'll keep adding until I can get where it completely pulls away and it's turning more into a ball. At this point, I'm only putting about half a cup at a time now, because it is getting closer. At this point, I'm going to take my flour in my hand. I'm going to flour this. And I want to pull the flour off my spoon. Just go ahead and get it out of the way. And at this point, I'm going to do the rest of this by hand. Still kind of sticky, so we want a little bit more flour to it. This edge is scraped up. Now I'm only adding about a quarter of a cup at a time. It's getting close. You can always add a little bit more flour, but it's really hard to add more liquid at this point. So the closer you get to it being done, the less flour you want to use. And you see it's still trying to stick. So as long as it's trying to stick to my hand, I'm going to add a little bit more flour. And I'm going to keep working it. And we'll add about a quarter of a cup at a time. That off my fingers. I would suggest everybody learn how to make bread. Get you a big bowl like this. You can get them off Amazon now. I got this bowl a long time ago at Sam's. It's like a 20-quart bowl, I think. And it's been a really good bowl for me to have. I use it for all sorts of things. A little bit more flour. It's still a little sticky. Let's get some more on the bottom of it. I'll flip it around. All I'm doing is I'm grabbing it, pushing it towards the middle, and I'm pushing down. Just keeping it moving, and that's going to help bring all that together. And now it's not really sticking anymore. And I'm going to leave it be right here. All right, so I took my bread dough out and I cleaned my bowl for this next part. Now I'm just going to pour just a little bit of oil on the bottom of my bowl. I've got my oven preheating on the lowest setting, and I'm only going to let it run for 2 to 3 minutes, and I'm cutting it back off. I'm just getting the inside temperature of my oven hot, but I don't want it cooking hot. I just want it warm. I want it over 100 degrees. That way the dough will rise. And then I'm going to take my ball and put it back in here, and I'm going to coat it with the oil. And I'm not even going to cover it. Everybody's, oh, you got to cover it. No, you don't have to cover it. And then we're going to leave it like that. And then from here, it's going. All right, so it's been about an hour now. What we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to kind of punch it down a little bit, kind of fold it over. I knead it in a little bit. I'm going to take just a little bit of flour and I'm going to put it on my cutting board. I'm going to try not to make too much of a mess here. I'm going to grab my ball and I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to get rid of my bowl for a second. I'm just going to kind of knead that flour in a little bit. Alright, now I want to cut this up a little bit. A little bit more manageable pieces. As I said, I made a really big dough ball. sticky. I'll add a little bit more flour to it. I'm going to start forming this big boy. Now what I have here, y'all have probably seen before, I like Subway. It's a little mold. I'm just going to get these to fit. And I'm going to let them rise for just a little bit longer. All I'm doing is taking my fingers and just kind of rolling it in on itself and spreading it out. And there's going to be like an edge down here. I'm just going to kind of pinch it down and make that the bottom. And the same thing, when I'm spinning this around, all I'm doing is grabbing the edge and just kind of twisting it inwards. Now you can pick these molds up on like Amazon. They're not too expensive. They're made just for doing this. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this off to the side, or just leave it right here, and I'm going to start preheating my oven. And I'm going to preheat it to 450 degrees. And then once it gets ready, I'll pop them in and probably cook for about 25 to 30 minutes. Now, if you don't have this, you don't have to have it. You can use just put it on a baking sheet. I would suggest putting a little bit of cornmeal down, but that way it helps with the sticking. But this is, I have this, so this is what I'm using. All right, well, after 30 minutes, here's our bread.